Welcome to the Untold Story podcast, everybody. I'm Martha McCallum. It's great to have you with us today. This story has been on my mind a lot. Everyone I know is talking about it. What is going on when you look up in the sky and there are potentially thousands of unmanned drones flying around in the sky, and nobody, the government, industry, seems to know where they're coming from. Reports of thousands of them flying in, some of them from the ocean. They seem to go dark when things get close to them. They only come out at night. Mysterious seems an understatement for what's happening here, and potentially dangerous and scary. So I'm very glad to bring in Representative Chris Smith from New Jersey. He represents the 4th Congressional District, and he's definitely a person who digs into what's happening in his district and his state, and really is very proactive member of Congress. So, Congressman Smith, it's good to have you with us. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much, Martha. Appreciate it.
So, yesterday, a couple days ago, or Tuesday, I guess, there was a hearing on these drones. So give me a sense of what your response was. There was someone from the FBI there. What did you learn from that hearing that you didn't know before about the reports that you were getting in your state? And characterize, if you would, what those reports are like that you're hearing from people.
Congressman Pfluger, who's the chairman of the committee, did a magnificent job at asking hard questions and having the right people there. Problem was that the FBI and the others who were there were woefully uninformed about what's going on. And I was myself shocked at that. A lot of people learned for the first time that the FBI has $500,000 dedicated to this effort. Are you kidding me? $500,000? Homeland Security isn't all that much better as far as we can tell, although they might be, and they're just not saying it. But DOD has the capacity to ascertain who they are, what they are doing, and to bring them down. And I have been shocked as well that they are not engaged in this. And I've asked the Secretary of Defense in a letter, and I've called the base in New Jersey, and the base, the Joint Base. They have a capacity there and a capability to really get to the bottom of this, and they're not being employed to do so. And I think that's unconscionable. These are not benign entities that are flying over there. I mean, the fact that we don't know who they are, that they're taking evasive maneuvers, they're coming in from the ocean, at least some of them, we don't know how many. Their intent, I think, is malevolent. If I'm a hostile power like Iran, China, or Russia, or all of the above, including North Korea, I take note of this and say, they're not prepared. How porous are they in terms of their borders? And so it's very troubling. And again, I'm shocked at the Biden administration for their lack of dedication to get to the bottom of it and make sure that this homeland is secure.
Okay, so either, everyone thinks back to the Chinese spy balloon, right, which was detected off of the northwest coast. Then we waited till it got over the United States. Then it was, it was almost comical if it wasn't so frightening in terms of what it might have been collecting. We were told by the chairman of the Joint Chiefs of Staff, don't worry, it's not getting anything. We shut everything down, all of the sensitive information down as it traveled across the country. So now we have, what is your best estimate based on the information that's been collected in the state of New Jersey as to how many of these drones roughly are flying over the state? And of course, heading into New York and as well.
I wish I had a good number, but it's been hundreds and hundreds. And I spoke to a detective in the Ocean County Sheriff's Office, and she conveyed in a very dramatic video that she had seen 50 of them come off the ocean into the mainland in Ocean County. Many others have seen formations of 10 and 12 and 15. They keep showing up all over. We don't know how many are duplicates. They show up, they could be different ones. But again, that's where the surveillance capability, especially of the Department of Defense, needs to be aggressive and very thorough, and they're not doing it. And, maybe they'll change today. I hope they do. I don't want to be criticizing. I want to be saying, thank you for doing your job, because protection of our citizens, there's nothing more important. Nothing.
I mean, it's so crazy to even talk about this in a way that doesn't have any answer. So, Congressman Smith, let's go through some of the potential sources of this in your mind. What are they?
Well, I think Putin has incentive. He certainly has the capability. And especially since our missiles are now reaching Russia itself via Ukraine, and they're deploying them, the rhetoric coming out of him and Lavrov and others has become even more pronounced. Tehran continually says death to America and death to Israel. And they're certainly, in their proxies, whether it be the Houthis or the Hamas or Hezbollah, they've shown that the drones, I should say, are a very effective way of trying to kill and maim and even to try to sink our ships in that part of the world. And then China, under Xi Jinping, I chair the China Commission. He has global ambitions. He has ambitions locally that are playing out, first with Hong Kong, and now Taiwan is in his crosshairs. But all the other countries in that region know that hegemony is what he's all about. He wants to expand his empire, and he has the capability in many ways to do it. Drones are a part of all of it. So if we're being tested, and we were tested with the spy balloon, and I give the Biden administration a big fat F for not bringing that thing down long before it went over the B-2 bomber base and all the other bases that it hovered over. It could have easily deployed a nuclear bomb, and I gave a floor speech on this, citing a number of very knowledgeable people who said that's you do an EMP there, and we can't do anything. We have no communications. Nobody can watch your show. It really is a serious problem. And we just watched and wondered, what are they doing? Well, could you think for 1 second that China would allow such a thing with an American, quote unquote, weather balloon hovering over its territory? It would be shot down immediately. No doubt about it. So this reluctance, and just yesterday we had a big hearing on the egregious withdrawal from Afghanistan, and frankly, not only did Americans die unnecessarily, and just honorable young people who have lost their lives, and so many of our allies and friends there, we left people behind. And it was the most flawed thing I have ever seen militarily. And they were saying, oh, this is like Dunkirk. I don't think so. And in Dunkirk, they went back and they fought against the Nazis, they being the British Army. So we're being tested, I think, no doubt about that. The Department of Defense Pentagon spokeswoman said these are not military drones. I don't know why she didn't just say they're not U.S. drones of any kind. But the implication was they're not U.S. Drones. And if they were, how foolish is that? To trespass in people's space. And that's what it is. When you look up from your house and you see a drone hovering, that's like being on your front lawn. And especially since it could be carrying a payload and not just photography equipment and the like. So we need answers, and we need them yesterday. And then we need a very demonstrable and strong response to this provocation, which could be more than that. It could be the harbinger of the unthinkable. So we better be really serious about this, because the world is on the precipice of a potential war. I mean, if Putin talks about it one more time in terms of going nuclear, I take him at his word.
Yeah. I mean, by now we clearly could have taken a few of them down and inspected them and figured out what it is. So there's a couple of things. The State Department yesterday said that it is not a mothership, an Iranian mothership that is out in the Atlantic that is sending these drones in towards the Atlantic beaches and coast along the coast of New Jersey, which has been mentioned, that maybe they're flying in from a ship that is out off the coast, and then they're going back to that ship. She said, no, that is not what is happening. This is Sabrina Singh from the State Department. However, she didn't say what is happening. Now, a couple of quick things here. I remember there was a piece by Robert O'Brien in the Wall Street Journal couple of years ago, and he was national security advisor at the time. He talked about drone programs, military drone programs, and that it is completely plausible to imagine a scenario where enemy drones, swarm one of our aircraft carriers, kill many of our people on board and are able to basically occupy it without putting one human being in danger. So there's that scenario. The other scenario is commercial, that there are companies that are trying to develop technology so that they can lower, for example, an air conditioning system into a construction-built skyscraper without the use of cranes. And that this is a commercial venture to figure out how to make these drones work in order to deliver things in a totally different way. Now, either one of these are completely plausible, and it is possible that it's a DoD program that they don't want anyone to know about. Which of the above seems like it makes the most sense based on what you've learned so far, or none of the above?
It begs the question, especially when they're coming from the ocean inland, where are they coming from? They don't have the unlimited ability. They don't travel from continent to continent. There has to be some kind of ship or ships that act as a base of operations. We don't know what country may be, which terrorist country, and that's China, Russia, North Korea, and Iran, to name just four of them, that would be wanting to do this. But are we going out with the surveillance work to decipher that and discern that? I don't think so. If we are, they owe us some answers. That's what the Coast Guard could be doing as well. We have ships that's what they do. We got to know. And there's this nothing to see here. Nonchalance is ridiculous in the extreme. I don't think that any private sector, while there are drones being developed for what you were talking about, this is not Amazon. This is, I don't think, bringing in some heavy duty. There's so many of them, hundreds. We don't know how many. And the fact that they keep moving often in tandem, like in a formation, just again begs the question: what are they up to? Inquiring minds want to know, and right now we don't have answers. And we should have had answers on day 2 when this began to manifest, and we have not had them. And again, I've talked to a lot of military people, a lot of Coast Guard people. Some of whom, if I mention their names, they'd get fired, and I think that's disgusting as well. We need all hands on deck to say what's happening, and let's get to the bottom of it. Mayorkas, when he spoke to us on a Zoom, when I say us, the New Jersey delegation, he didn't have any answers. And I was, he said that the Sentinel was coming in to, increase our ability to track and to film these. Well, I've heard nothing about what the Sentinel has been able to discover. But again, there needs to be, again, what this tells a wannabe adversary is that we are porous and we don't react
and
the way we should.
And you can do what you want. Yeah.
I don't think that will happen under Trump, frankly.
Yeah, I mean, they're flying over military bases, and they flew over Langley.
The Untold Story continues right after this.
The Wall Street Journal wrote a piece that I thought didn't get nearly enough attention, about late November maybe, about drones swarming military installations, including Langley, and they couldn't figure out what they were, where they were coming from, and then it just disappeared, and now they've reappeared all over New Jersey, and the Picatinny Weapons Facility is one of those, and another base in New Jersey as well they've flown over, right?
There's no doubt that they've gotten near. I've been told by the base commanders, because I talked to them, that if they fly over their perimeter, action will be taken. But you don't have to necessarily be directly over someplace to gather information, or if you're in a hostile mode, to fire off a missile or some other munition. And that's what I find so, are we so naive about the intent of the adversaries that are out there? I mean, China kills people every single day in their gulags. They're committing genocide against the Uyghurs in the Xinjiang region. Torture is endemic. If you're put into prison or arrested, you're going to be convicted, but you're going to be tortured first. This is not a benign society or a democracy-oriented society. It's an absolute dictatorship. The same goes for Putin, and same goes for Iran.
So, Congressman,
so it's,
I'm just trying to think about all the scenarios. Is it so? Is my understanding that the FAA does not allow authorization to shoot down? Obviously, the military could overrule that. The president of the United States could overrule that. But what is the likelihood that this is a private company sort of showing off and creating this whole, storm of discussion so that they can say, hey, look at what we did, and we have great technology. We didn't do anything illegal. We didn't fly exactly over the military installation. Is that a plausible outcome here?
Well, everything needs to be on the table. So I wouldn't say it's likely. I think it would be highly unlikely. But if that's what they did, the head, that CEO and those people ought to be arrested. They are scaring many, many people, but they're also telling our adversaries how vulnerable we really are. And that's not a good message to get out. So there needs to be, a very serious effort to say, how do we protect the homeland from the skies? And it's not there.
So I want to ask you about this, Congressman, because you talked about this in detail, your discussion with the Coast Guard, and you just mentioned a moment ago that they don't want to be named, the individuals who witnessed this. But what account did they give you? What happened to the Coast Guard off the coast of New Jersey?
Well, there was a 47-foot rescue boat, an amazing boat, that was traveling in the Atlantic Ocean, going, horizontal, going up and down the coast, right off Ocean County, and in the ocean, and it was being followed by numerous drones. One estimate was up to 30. They were very, very close to the vessel, and they followed it. Now, what's that all about? Who are they? Who are they to be following in our area? Because this is this is our water space. We own this area, frankly, and we have no idea who they are. At any given time, they could have attacked that vessel if they had the capability and showing what they're doing. They probably do. Why aren't we finding out who they are? The Coast Guard, thankfully, they were honest, and one of the CEOs told me this story. It's been confirmed by some other news media that, like AP, that called them and said, "Is this real?" And it is real. Of course, it's real. They don't lie, but we need to get to the bottom of it.
So why wouldn't the Coast Guard?
That puts our sailors at risk and our men and women in uniform.
Absolutely. So why wouldn't the Coast Guard call, other military branches and say, can you please get some planes in the air and let's take some of these down because they're threatening this U.S. Coast Guard ship?
Martha, from your voice to Lloyd Austin, I've written him. I've called over to the Pentagon. I said, what are you waiting for? You have the capability. Use it. Defend the homeland. Don't say, we got a division of labor with Homeland Security and the FBI. The FBI, like I said before, one of my takeaways from that hearing was how little they have financially invested in the mitigation of drone threats. $500,000? Are you kidding me? That's chump change when it comes to this kind of work. So my hope is that the DOD will say, that's it. We're going to find out what this is, and we're going to get answers immediately. The commander-in-chief needs to direct it. I don't know why he hasn't spoken out. He ought to, but Lloyd Austin, the Secretary of Defense, can do it as we talk. And to the best of my knowledge, he still hasn't done it. I've asked him to.
All right, Congressman Smith, thank you very much. Chris Smith from New Jersey's 4th District. Hopefully we're going to get some answers by the time this podcast comes out, and hopefully within the next 24 hours. We'd love to hear that they just took 3 of them down and that they're inspecting them right now at a government facility, and we're going to hear some answers shortly. So hopefully that's the next drone to drop, shall we say.
Yeah, let's hope so. And Martha, I do have a bill I'm introducing next week that will convey to local law enforcement, because our Sheriff Mastronardi and Sean Golden have been doing an amazing job. Why are they doing this? This is DOD work that would convey authorities to them to be much more participating with capabilities to mitigate the drone threat. I'm introducing that on Monday.
Congressman Smith, thank you very much. We look forward to seeing the progress of that bill, and we will speak with you soon. Thank you, sir. I'm Martha McCallum. That's the untold story about the drones flying around in the skies, coming off the Atlantic Ocean and hovering over the metropolitan area in New York, New Jersey. We'll continue to follow up on it. Join us for the next episode of The Untold Story. Have a great day. I'm Martha McCallum. You've been listening to The Untold Story with Martha McCallum. Don't forget to subscribe on Apple Podcasts or wherever you listen. Make sure to rate and review. For more podcasts, go to foxnewspodcast.com. Listen ad-free with the Fox News Podcast Plus subscription on Apple Podcasts, and Amazon Prime members can listen to this show ad-free on the Amazon Music app.